Alright, we have our tile rolled and ready to be designed. There's your tile, and you should place your design on top of your tile and take a sharp pencil, it should be sharp, and start to trace around your circle. This will help get small details or parts of your design into the clay without too much effort. You just trace the design. Make sure you're pressing into the clay. You can cut through your paper, that's fine, as it cut through mine a little bit. Just make sure you're not cutting through the clay all the way to the back of the clay. And there you should have your circle in the clay. And that will help plan your designs. And now you can also do something that I call tracing the circles. So we all use circles to create our plan. Take the circle that you used, and you can find that by comparing it to your plan. So I used a 1.75-inch circle. Alright, and then I used that in the center of that larger circle, so I can just place that down right on top and trace around that circle. Now this is something we call subtraction, which is removing clay. And you'll see I'm making the lines where I'd like to remove the clay, and I use a clay tool to scoop away and carve away that clay. This is called subtraction. We're taking the clay away. Subtraction, similar to the math term subtracting numbers, only we're subtracting the clay. Now when you subtract clay, you often need to use a Q-tip to soften the parts that you subtracted. So we're going to take a Q-tip, dip it in the slip, and soften those edges to make sure we have no clay boogers clinging on. And I did mine pretty quick. This is really helpful if you have larger fingers or you just can't get into spaces that are too small for your fingers. Use a Q-tip to soften it up. Dip in the slip as much as you need to. You can also use your finger if you have some spaces that need to be softened. I'm going to keep making my designs. Just kind of a sunburst design. Alright, and then I'll do that center. I'm not going to trace that since I can do that. That's not too bad. And you can change your designs a little bit. Like my circles were a little smaller than the end of that paintbrush, but that's fine. I can change it. And now we'll do something called addition, which is adding clay by slipping and scoring. You'll take your extra clay and any place that you'd like to add clay. It's going to create a three-dimensionality to it, so it'll make it look more 3D. So I'm taking a small clay ball, just rolling it in my hands. There's my small clay ball. I'm going to put that in the very center of my tile and take a pencil and scratch it up. You might have heard scratch to attach. This is called scoring, using the pencil to rough it up. And you're going to rough up both pieces, so on the inside of the tile and on the piece of clay you want to attach. This is called addition. Like in math, you're adding together. Take your slip and put some slip on the back of the piece you want to attach and some slip on the place where you want to attach it, and press the two together. You don't want to use too much slip. And now you're going to create more textures using the materials and tools available to you. So I'm going to keep following my plan. It doesn't look quite the same, but that's okay. The plan was just to get our ideas down. So I create those little arrows, arrow design, and I forgot the larger circles, so I'll go ahead and do that. It's easier if you do all your circles in the beginning before adding. It's a little hard to trace when you have something sticking out of your clay. And now I'm going to take the end of that pencil and create lots of dots. I really like the end of that pencil and how it creates those cool textures. And using a sharp pencil can be really helpful in creating designs. Now, I don't really like how that circle turned out, so you can remove that by smudging it away with some slip and your finger. So it's not a big deal if you mess up. And I'm going to change my design a little bit. I don't really like the design I came up with on my plan, so I'm changing that a little bit. I'm going to press in with this tool, kind of create an angle. I like how that looks better. Now I'll do it again. It's up to you, and it's how you want to use the tools to create a really interesting design. Using just the end of that pencil to create some small lines. That's a nice texture. And go ahead and write your name again on the back. If you can't really see it, that's important. We're going to stick them in our bags. And I'm not quite done with mine yet. You might not be done, so go ahead and stick it in the bag so it doesn't dry. And I can come back to it anytime and work on it some more. Make sure to seal it up really tight. And put it in the cupboard. Then take your scrap clays or pieces of clay and stick it into the recycling bucket. And make sure to clean up your blue tray. Make sure all the tools are on the tray. Make sure the circles are on the tray. And you're good to go.